Good morning. I'm calling this meeting to order on October the 7th, Thursday. It's a special meeting of the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. I'm Stephanie Rawlinson, Commissioner Blackwood. Will you read the statement of notice of meeting?
Stephanie, what did you say? I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear anybody. Maybe I should.
Christy, are you available to read the statement of notice?
I can read it, Stephanie, if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh. We can hear you, Commissioner Blackwood. Well, now we can't. Can everyone hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read it. A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the October 7, 2021 Special Call Commission meeting was distributed on October the 5th, 2021 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Office, Administrative Office, and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
That is the notice of meeting. The only item on our agenda is, if you will look at the agenda, is the approval of the legislative budget. Please look at the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second from Barry Malphurs.
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 No nays. Hearing none, the motion carries, and this will be the agenda set for today. The only item here is the approval of the legislative budget. Mr. Pat Maley, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point to discuss that with us.
Thank you, Chairman. All of you should have a one-page summary of our fiscal year 22-23 budget proposal to the Executive Budget Office, and then that goes to the legislative process. It's one page. It totals 13.4 million in state funds, 22.3 million in Medicaid matching funds, and a total of 35.8 million in total funds. At the September 16th commission meeting, I presented, we talked about this issue. There was no vote taken. And at that time, we had 8 priorities, and I discussed in detail priorities 2 through 8. The commissioners had this document for some time. We could not approve it at the September 16th meeting because our number one priority, we needed to wait a little bit longer to get data from the South Carolina Department of Health and Human Services on finalizing its IDRD waiver renewal, as well as getting a budget impact estimate to put in our fiscal year 22-23 budget because the renewal will have increased costs. So since the September 16th meeting, again, I want to thank the Department of Health and Human Services in South Carolina for their extraordinary effort all summer long through October 1st for making major changes in our IDRD waiver that enhanced services, as well as looked closely at the rates for service providers. They completed their work and they submitted the renewal to CMS either last Friday or Saturday. We have met with them on Friday and this past Monday, and the state of the renewal is that it contains the components, specifically individual tiered residential settings, that creates the pathway for DDSN to go fee-for-service on January 1st, which was a big component of it. And also, we've already talked a number of times about the improvements in the waiver, so I won't belabor today's meeting with those. They're on your sheet. They're quite important to the people we serve. And we will hopefully circulate this out to the public so they can see the itemization. The most important thing from a budget perspective is what will this renewal cost? The Department of HHS provided me an estimate of $14 million in state funds for the improvements, and $14 million in state funds, if you use traditional Medicaid matching, turns into approximately $47 million in additional services. So I plugged, so when we look at that, the question is, how do we want to ask for these funds? I recommend that we don't ask for the 14 million in the current year. That is a very big ask in state government. I've modeled our proposal off of the very successful 3-year tiered plan for adding $1 an hour wage to our direct support professionals back in 18, 19, and 20. And that was about $7 million ask, and that was well received by the legislature to pay it over multiple years. So my recommendation is only to ask for half of it in fiscal year 22 and 23, which would be $7 million, have matching funds of 16.5, a total of 23.5. But I do want to point out the other half of the need we will pay for because we are fortunate enough to have fairly good reserves based on a number of factors, and certainly the COVID-19 6.2% FMAP has put us in a good position to support this waiver enhancement. So I'm only recommending that we ask for half of the needed state funds so that we are, I think it's, we're doing it in a kind of a diligent manner that we don't overload the ask in any one year. I also want to caveat that by, in our budget proposal or submission and discussion with the Executive Budget Office and the legislature, that we will recognize the amount of reserves that we have. And our challenge is we have ample reserves to fund these changes for many, many years, but they are one-time money. What we're trying to do is get reoccurring state funding so that we can pay for these improvements over the long term. And we certainly will make available our non-recurring money to the General Assembly in any way they deem appropriate as to how to trade off our one-year money for recurring funds. So I think our initial proposal of a 2-year rollout is reasonable, and it gives them plenty of opportunities to modify that either shorter or longer based on discussion and dialogues with the Executive Budget Office and the General Assembly. I do want to add, by breaking it into 2 years, it's helpful because we are just dealing with estimates now. And of course, with estimates, it varies. And I think by rolling it out in 2 years, this time next year, we will have experienced this new waiver renewal for a good 8 or 9 months, and we'll be able to better project what the true costs are. And the complexity of what we're looking at is, although we're only asking for increases in the IDRD waiver, there are many services that are identical in our CS waiver. And as we go through the fall and get to January 1st, there's a chance that HHS could increase those services in the CS waiver to the same amount. And if they don't do that, the CS waiver is due for renewal as of July 1st of next year. And I think at that time, they will certainly equalize the rates. So what we have going is a $14 million, $47 million service increase in IDRD waiver, but we will also be increasing the CS waiver either at January 1st or certainly by next July 1st. So we have a lot of moving parts. Given our good cash reserves, I think asking for half up front is a reasonable approach. And by next summer, we'll truly understand our utilization costs when we ask for the second half of the IDRD, as well as we'll have the CS waiver being renewed next summer as well. So that's my proposal. I can go into priorities 2 through 8. I don't want to belabor everybody's time because we did talk at them at length. So rather than me talk about 2 through 8, I think I'll leave my initial discussion on priority 1 open. And I'll add one more thing to it before I open it for discussion, which would be, I did send out an executive memo yesterday to the provider community, alerting them that this fee-for-service that we've been talking about we've been talking hard about it for 3 or 4 years, and it goes back 7 or 8 years. We can definitively say we are scheduled for January 1st of 22. And we set out some background to the provider network on the renewal, as well as we're starting to frame out the bigger issues to move us to January 1st start date. So with that said, if anybody wants to discuss options 2 through 8, I will redo it, but I don't want to belabor them. So I'll open it for discussion or direction on how to further brief it.
Commissioners, do any of you have questions for Mr. Ballard?
Yeah, I do have a question if I can.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming this is true, but I don't see him on this call right now, so I don't know. I assume that since getting money from the legislature and how much we ask for and don't ask for, which I think is a wonderful thing, by the way, that we're paying half of this money up front now because of our reserves. That's exactly what we should be doing. I don't disagree with any of it. All I'm saying is, have we, I assume you've discussed this at length with Tommy Windsor, and he is all on board with what we're trying to do with the legislature, correct?
Tommy's been cut on all these documents. I don't know exactly what Tommy's position is on the budget.
Yeah, yes, we've discussed it, and we're going to be discussing it some more. So I think we're in good shape.
Okay, I didn't see you on here, Tommy. I'm sorry. If I'd saw you on here, I wouldn't even have brought it up. Go ahead.
No, I've looked at the documents and we've talked about it, and we're in good shape.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion from a commissioner regarding this matter?
I so move that we accept the budget as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Malphus. Are there any further questions or any discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of approving this this budget as approved as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no nays, the motion carries and this budget is approved. Is there anything else anyone has any questions or issues about today? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second? Do I have a
Second.
second?
Blackwood.
Motion and second to adjourn. We do stand adjourned, and our next meeting will be on the 16th. Is it 16th? 18th. Oh, no.
No, 21st?
I'm
The
sorry, y'all.
21st.
It's the 21st of October in Columbia at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.